Welcome back, folks. I'm Jake Ellenbogen, and today we are going to try and debunk a little myth going around that the Rams are just like any other California team and can't play on the East Coast. Before we dive into it, be sure to like, subscribe, and comment. Also, be sure to follow me on all social media at JKBogan, including Instagram, TikTok, Twitter, and Kick. And in addition to that, just want to let you guys know that today's sponsor is BetUS, and you can get a 150% bonus match on your first deposit and 125% on your next two deposits using the code YouTube150. Be sure to bet responsibly, but also be sure if you're going to bet on today's game, the Rams and the Jets, head on over to BetUS and place your bets there. That is that. So let's dive into it. Shout out to R. Clemente2121 over on Twitter or X, whatever you prefer. McVay's Rams, per him, are 5-2 in Week 16. They have an average score of 30-20, which is the same score they had against the Minnesota Vikings on a short week Thursday Night Football. So that's interesting. Now, I will say this. When it comes to the Rams, you're going to find a lot of people want to just say, oh, they play in LA. And it's one of those media regurgitated nonsensical things that tries to that people think it makes them sound smart when they say it. But when you hear a lot of these stats, you're going to understand why it's just not very smart. So the McVay Rams are 1-3 in 4 games in which the Rams, in the McVay era, of course, played in 35-degree or lower temperatures. Okay, understandable. 1-3, not great. So maybe that does, I guess, somewhat go in favor of what people are talking about, how the Rams don't play the same style of football when they're on the East Coast or they're in the cold, whatever. Today is slated to be in the 20s, maybe even dropping below the 20s. So just keep this in mind. First off, context is very important, but this will be Stafford's coldest game of his career. In those McVay games, though, let's take it back a little bit. Stafford has only played in one of those games. Actually, he's played in none of those games. Now, I think about it, because he didn't play in 2022, the December game against the Packers, because he was out and Baker Mayfield played. They lost 24-12. He didn't play in 2021 because that was before Stafford came over. He was traded to the Rams almost right after that game against Green Bay in Green Bay, 32-18. Jared Goff played that game. And then twice in 2018, although the Rams won their first showing against the Denver Broncos 23-20. That was the game where Todd Gurley had over 200 yards on the ground. And then following that, going into December, Chicago, 15-6 loss to the Chicago Bears. Vic Fangio gave the Rams fits. And to be fair, right, those first two teams that I'm talking about, obviously Green Bay in the playoffs and then Green Bay in December. Green Bay in December in 2022, they were 8-9. They didn't make the playoffs. 2021, they got to the NFC title game. You look at 2018, that was a 13-3 Green Bay team. And the Chicago Bears, while they might be a laughingstock to some, back in 2018, they went 12-4. So context is needed and context is important here. It's a small sample size of only 4 games, but in those 4 games, they went up against coin flip type of games where, in 2018, they obviously go to the Super Bowl, but they played 2 teams that had at least 12 wins in those 2 games. So give them at least some credit there. Now, let me make this clear, okay? Matthew Stafford has a career of, he's 5-6 in games 35 degrees or lower for his career, according to Rams Wire. So shout out to them holding it over there. But if the weather holds up in this one, like I mentioned before, this will be the coldest game of Matthew Stafford's career. Now, I understand some people might freak out about that, but here's the deal. 5-6 doesn't really tell the full story. He was on a bad Lions team all of those games. He's never played in, a game like that with the Rams. So this will be his first game as such with the Rams. In those games, though, with the Lions, 24 touchdowns, 7 picks, and that's in 11 games, had 100-plus passer rating in 6 of those 11 games. So it's not like Stafford is like, oh, he sees the cold and freezes. No pun intended. It's not like he just is terrible. I mean, this guy clearly puts up good numbers. He's been on bad teams. I think the same thing can go with McVay with the 1-3 record. He went up against good teams. And I think this is where context is needed. But also, this idea, I don't know why this continues to be pushed out there. I just don't get it. That the Rams struggle on the East Coast. I don't understand. Sean McVay in his Rams tenure is 11-3 in early kickoffs on the East Coast. He only lost 3 games out of 14. How is that struggling? He's 7-2 in early kickoffs in the Northeast. The only 2 losses in that, data set, obviously they lost that game to the Dolphins somehow. They outplayed them, and that was pretty much when I gave up on Jared Goff at that point in time. That's neither here nor there. But the 7-2 on the Northeast, those 2 losses came down to the fact they lost to the Buffalo Bills on the last play of the game. And honestly, they got a stop on 4th down, and they had a BS call and gave them an untimed down, but we won't get too much into that. And then they lost in the Baltimore Rain in overtime on a punt return touchdown. So 7-2, and they lost against 2 good teams, and they lost against 2 good teams that came down to the wire. It's not like they got blown out. I mean, the way people talk about the West Coast teams going over the East Coast, it's like, oh my God. Are we sure they're going to be okay? I don't know if they're going to be able to get through this. I don't know. Another thing, out of those 9 games on the Northeast, the Rams scored 30 points in McVay's tenure 7 of the 9 times. Okay, so it's not like McVay doesn't have this team ready to go when he goes to the Northeast. He's undefeated at MetLife Stadium. He's dropped 51 before. He's dropped over 30 before. Now both on the Giants, and he has not played the Jets there. But again, this idea that this is why they'll lose. If they lose, they just didn't show up. If they lose, some things happen in the game that caused them to lose. They're not automatically losing this game because they're a West Coast team and they don't play well on the East Coast. That's just not true. So we're debunking these narratives out there that people say that they push to try to sound smart, but it does the exact opposite. The reason why the Rams don't have this crazy hangover like some warm weather teams tend to when you get into, colder climates, it's very simple. The Rams, the way they want to play their style of football, it's not predicated on the weather. Okay, it never has been. So when you look at Sean McVay, he is totally fine airing it all over the field. He is totally fine running the football. Regardless if you want to call him Sean McPass or, make some sort of, take a shot at him. Here's the reality. The last 2 games against the Bills and the 49ers, which they had to have, you had Kyren Williams run the ball 58 times. There were 4 days in between those games. So they played 2 games in 4 days, and they had Kyren Williams run the ball 58 times. So this idea that they won't run the ball is BS. This idea that they can't, kill the clock and play ball control on the road in the cold is also BS. And this idea that Stafford can't play in the cold is super BS because he's had, 7 times in which he has had a 100+ passer rating. So come on now. That's what you're looking at. I'm sorry, 6 times in the 11 times. So more often than not, he's had a 100+ passer rating in a game. So if you take anything away from this, just take away the Rams. I understand in this type of weather, in this type of degree, like Sean McVay for his career is 1-3. But he's never had Stafford in any of those 4 games. And they're 11-3 in early kickoffs on the East Coast. And they score points. So that's why I have 31-24. And if this defense comes out and plays the way they did against the 49ers and Aaron Rodgers turns the ball over and they get after him, well, I got news for you. This could end up being a blowout. Now, I think it's going to be 31-24. I think it's going to be a close game. I think they're going to give it their all. I think the Jets are really going to be a problem, and they're going to be able to run the ball with Breece Hall, and they're going to open up the play-action pass for Aaron Rodgers, and they're going to get some big explosives from, Garrett Wilson and Devontae Adams. But I think the Rams are just a better team. And so I think at the end of the day, Sean McVay is going to have them prepared. They'll move on to 12-3. Winning 12 of 15 on the East Coast in early kickoffs. I was told that's not possible. This would also be the 8th time in 10 games in the Northeast that Sean McVay has scored at least 30 plus, if my prediction holds up, which I believe it will. So those are my thoughts. But before we finish it up, of course, special shout out to BetUS for sponsoring today's video. But before we go, I just want to let you guys know that I have started 2 new YouTube channels, although I kind of just reset the first one. So if you guys want more gaming content, it won't be on this channel. I won't do that to Rams fans on this channel. We're past that point. There is a gaming channel. It's Jake Ellenbogen Gaming. But what I'm really thrilled about, in the words of Steve Jobs, I'm really thrilled about this. This podcast that I'm starting, it's called The Lounge with Jake Ellenbogen, and essentially it opens up the door for me to interview maybe your favorite artist, maybe your favorite actor, musician, entrepreneur, whatever. And so that is going to be that. So I just ask, if you really like this channel, you really support what I do, and you like me a little bit more than just the Rams content, you want to keep up with what I'm doing, please give my new channel, I understand the gaming is just very niche, right? But please give my new channel a sub. You won't regret it. The things I got planned for that channel, oh man, I am so excited. If you guys have watched the Joe Rogan Experience, it's going to be kind of like that, except I'm limited because obviously I'm not going to be flying people out to upstate New York to be in this like small box of a room and do, the back and forth interviews. But we'll do them, the same way we did the interview with Rob. And if you guys, really liked the interview that I did with Rob, well, there you go. So that is going to do it. I hope you guys enjoyed. I really appreciate you. Please be sure to hit that subscribe button on this channel, but also on The Lounge with Jake Ellenbogen. Spread the word. I think I've tried multiple projects before, and we're getting Yankees Unloaded off the ground. Gary and I got this off the ground clearly, but I really do believe that this project is going to do very well. I'm just going to need your help, of course, but I do believe this is going to do really well. So if you like just, what I bring to the table, you like my Q&As, you like my live streams, you like just that kind of banter a little bit away from football, doesn't mean I won't have football players on. As a matter of fact, I have one locked in for The Lounge with Jake Ellenbogen. But with that said, this allows me to kind of broaden my horizons a little bit without ever giving up on what we're doing here on this channel, because we're almost at 30,000 subscribers. And keep in mind, this channel was obsolete. It did not exist until November 16th of 2020. So that means November 15th of 2020, this channel did not exist. And we had 0 subscribers. We had nothing. NA, not applicable. And now we're sitting here with almost 30,000. Just imagine, what this is going to be in 3 years. Just imagine what it's going to be next year. So really appreciate you guys. Again, be sure to subscribe to The Lounge if you haven't already. And I'll see you guys. Well, I'll probably see some of you at MetLife Stadium. This will be probably the last video that I put out before then. The deal is I'm going to try and come back at a decent time. I'm going with an entourage. I got a group of people. My father, my brother, his girlfriend, my uncle, my cousin. So I would imagine I'll get back at a decent time, probably 8, 9 p.m., and then we'll go live. But also be sure to check out Cameron Lynch, who is filling in for me over on Bleacher Report right after the game. that is going to do it for me. A lot to be said. Once again, thanks for BetUS for sponsoring today's video, and I hope to see you guys at MetLife Stadium. If you see me, holler. Take care, folks. Later. Just want to let you guys know that we are doing all 22 live breakdowns every single week, Rams football related, over on Kick exclusively. That's kick.com/JKBogan if you want to get in on the action. And if you want a little something more than just football, I also do gaming streams as well. So check that out. Link is in the description, and hope to see you there. Do you love talking about the Rams, the NFL, or just want to be a part of a community? Join my free Discord server today. We're over 800 members. We got 24/7 live chat, a level 3 boosted server, the ability to call into JE Live, playing online games with us on Kick streams, toggleable alerts for when I go live on YouTube or Kick so you don't miss a live stream, and exclusive giveaways. Click the link in the description, the comments section, or the link that comes up in the video to learn more and join today.